Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Howdy. How's the sound, guys? Welcome to the stream, Kevin. Welcome to the stream, the Fish Loft. Is the sound all right? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Thanks. Once again, I am utterly bereft of topics or axe to grind. I would like to wish everyone a happy Easter, no matter what your spirituality or religion is. I think we can all recognize that Easter is a nice holiday and a wonderful time of year. And I think it kind of means that we should all express goodwill to each other. Any topics you guys have on your minds today? Yeah, I guess we could spend a little while talking about my tanks. My shrimp tank, I had to change the light on it, and this is the 20-gallon high. I had to change the light on it because the I had an old hood that fit it that it was the old school ballast, and the switch went bad, and rather than, hey Dank Tanks, welcome to the stream, rather than repair it all, because I've repaired it several times and it's just pretty much shot, I just went ahead and my wife snagged a LED, one of the new LED lights off of eBay or Amazon. I can't remember which, probably Amazon. And so it is now open. The top is. I have a few of those plastic pieces that are sent with hood covers to give you a place to cut holes in the back across it, and some supports to hold the LED up, but it's pretty much open, and so I've been having a lot of evaporation out of that tank. This is the 20-gallon. Yeah. Kevin says, I use night crew lights on my 20 and 30 gallons. Very cheap, very bright. Yeah, this is a Beams work, I think, is what she got me. And it's like 16 inches long, so I have to support it over the tank itself. I tried setting it down in the open hood part of the old cover that I had for the tank, but it just wasn't bright enough really to break. Well, there's a lot of calcium buildup on the glass in that old hood too, but my Moss likes it really well. Yeah, Kevin says I don't use any lids either, and I'm always dealing with evaporation. Dank says he has a night crew on one of his vivariums, and it does just fine. Now, a lot of those lights aren't that bright, but if you're using them on like a 20-gallon, you know, the depth is not that deep, so the light will penetrate. Like that Marine Land that I got for that came with my wife's 75-gallon, that was worthless to use on the 75 gallon because it wouldn't even light the whole tank, much less get to the bottom to grow plants. And so I repurposed it and put it on the 13 gallon. It fits perfectly on that 13 gallon rimless that I got from Jimmy. So my 20 gallon high shrimp tank is doing really well. I do have to fight the evaporation problem because it's now open to the air mostly. But the shrimp are breeding like crazy. The moss has just gone out of control with this new light on the tank. It's just basically 2 levels of solid moss now. And then I've got my 110 gallon, and I treated it with this Cordon Rapid Cure that I was talking to you about last week. It's still sitting here. I treated it, and that seemed to get rid of the flicking issues that I noticed in my large male Teleocycla, and he has since come out and started eating, and I have not seen him having any issues. So I don't know exactly what it was. I did a big water change after I got done treating it, and the tank seems to be doing fine. I think I've lost like 3 pencil fish in about a 3-month period here lately. It could be because they're old. You know, pencil fish will only live so long, so it could be that they're old. And I lost that one Teleocycla. And other than that, I can't tell or notice any other issues with that tank. Once again, I'm having trouble with the plants in the tank. I have a brown thumb, and my wife does much better with plants. I did have Java fern and several other plants in there, but most of them are dwindling away to not much. I'm just not very good with plants for some reason. I've got a lot of light on that tank. I've got 4-foot T8 bulbs on it, and it's 2 plant grow and 2 sunlight bulbs. So they're getting, the plants are getting a ton of light. I'm just assuming it must be some macro fertilizer issue that I just continuously have to deal with. Kevin says he feels me on the brown thumb. He gets them to grow, but he trims them wrong and they end up dying. Well, I wish I could do that, but I just let them grow and they end up. I'm guessing it's some macro fert that's running low in the tank, and I'm just not providing that like I should probably. I got Easy Green from Corey, but I've fought nitrates in that tank for so long that I finally ended up just quit putting the ferts in there because they were just adding to the nitrate issue. So the nitrate issue has kind of leveled off a little bit, but the plants still don't do very well. So that's the 110 and the 20-gallon high shrimp tank. The 20-gallon quarantine tank is the tank that you're looking at in this video, and it's got Aru2s, 4 of Lucas. Actually, all these fish came from Lucas, indirectly and directly. It's got 4 lime endlers in it. It's got 1 tiny bristle nose pleco, which I haven't seen since the first day, so I don't know where it is in that tank. And it's got, let's see, 9 RU2s in it, 1 female and 7 males. So we need to work on getting some females in the tank. And it's also got the last few of the little Goiter River rainbow babies that grew up in this tank. And most of them have been transferred before the RU2s came. I broke the tank down pretty much and just drained it to the bottom and tried to catch all those RU2s out. I mean, catch all the rainbows out. But I knew that there were 2 RU2s in there, a pair. And so everything that was little tiny, I kept throwing it back. I was just taking the larger stuff because it made it easier to not try to figure out what was what, but just put back anything that was small and take all of the larger fish and transfer them into the 75. And in the 75 gallon, we now have, let's see, I guess about 15 baby Goiter Rivers, 6 baby praycocks that we got from Lucas when we went up there and got these RU2s, and 5 older Goiter Rivers that survived whatever it was that hit this tank and hit that 75, and Kevin's asking me, do I have any pics of the Goiter River babies? Yes and no, in the sense that if you look back through some of my older videos, you will see those Goiter River babies in the tank. They were so fast that it was hard for me to really get good, solid video of them. But there are several videos that are of that quarantine tank, that 20-gallon quarantine tank, with all the baby Goiter Rivers on it. And it was utterly an accident. That was our quarantine tank. And my wife was transferring moss from the 75 that she didn't want to use anymore, from the 75 into the quarantine tank to get something growing in there. And lo and behold, after a few days, we had a bunch of baby Goiter Rivers. So obviously they had been spawning into that moss, and my wife just picked it up and pulled it out and dropped it in the other tank. And okay, it's the 20-gallon, it's this very same tank. But right now you're probably not going to see the few baby Goiter Rivers that are left. Well, they go up and down real fast. And also this has focusing issues because I'm using a macro camera. And to get decent quality video, you can only set the focus range so deep. So you'll notice that they go in and out of focus. But it's because of how far away from the lens they are. When they're in perfect range, that they're perfectly in focus. And I was trying to get good footage of these RU2s because they're so gorgeous. But you'll see the baby Goiter Rivers just flash by every now and then. I had fed this tank, and when the food hits the, see, there just went one too. But they're just flashes as they go by. You can just barely see the dark line that the Goiter Rivers end up with on the sides of them. So they do have a very light black stripe down their sides. But these are, you know, maybe 3 months old, something like that. And they grow kind of slowly. So it's, the hard part of baby Goiter Rivers is to feed them. So we used micro worms, Repashy powder, just the powder by itself because it's so small. Goiter rivers have really tiny throats. Their mouths are kind of big, but their throats are little tiny. So they have a hard time swallowing larger food stuff. And okay, Kevin. Kevin says, okay, my babies have a dark stripe growing slow, but I have another fish with the dark line on them. Okay, so, you really never know until they're fully grown and you can compare them. See, there they go. This is when I first dropped the food in. And you can see those goiter rivers darting to the surface to get that food, and they're so fast. They just make the water roil when there's a bunch of food on the surface and there's a whole bunch of them. I'm not sure whether the baby goiter rivers are more boisterous than baby praycocks are, but it's pretty close. And I've got the 13-gallon rimless. That's a really long tank that I got from Jimmy when I bought before he went out west. And it is chock full of Lucas's tiger rainbow endlers, and it also has a real mix of Lucas's shrimp that Jimmy had in 3 different tanks, and I just combined them all because I knew if I put them in either of the Goiter River tanks, they would be gone, because Goiter Rivers will eat them. They bust them up and kill them. Aru, A-U-R-U, and these are Aru 2s. There are 3 different varieties of Arus. There is one that is in Indonesia. There is one that is on those little tiny islands scattered between Indonesia and Australia. And there is one in Australia. Or is it Australia or is it... yeah, I think so. Aru 2, that's it exactly. And they are pseudomcgills, blue eye rainbows. So if you look up pseudomcgills or blue eye rainbow fish, you may spot them as well. They're fairly new. Heiko Blair brought them back. He did collecting on those islands, and they seem in the last couple of years to start to become more popular in the hobby or more available in the hobby. I'm not sure who Lucas is getting these from. My inclination is to believe that it's Gary Lang, but I'm not sure who it is. I assume it's Gary Lang. And because of that, Gary Lang's always known for very strong lines from the wild. And they're just gorgeous little fish. I mean, all pseudomcgills are, but these are just especially stunning looking in their displays. And my wife really liked them. I think she found them at Wet Spot, and so she got a pair quite a while ago, and then wanted more. So she was supposed to come to Aquatic Experience with me, but her physicality was so bad that she did not make it to Aquatic Experience. She just felt like she would have to spend the whole time in a wheelchair, and she didn't really want to do that, to be drug all over the floor and block aisles and deal with people, from a wheelchair. It's kind of prohibitive to be in that state when there's a big crowd and you're trying to get close to things and look at stuff. But she sent me there with the goal of finding her some RU2s. And of course, there were several tanks that had RU2s in them, but you either had to win them at the prize ticket booth, or you had to find some that were available for sale, and there was very little available for sale there. There were some outrageously expensive shrimp, um, outrageous in my sense, probably not outrageous in the sense of the people that were selling them, because they've worked so hard and put so much effort into making all these designer breeds. But Lucas had them in his planted tank that was in the plant tank competition. And as soon as I saw him, I said, Lucas, I want them. My wife sent me here to get RU2s, and I'd really like to buy those. And he said, well, there's another guy that wants them too. And I gave him $100 bill and said, I want them. And so he took me over to that guy's booth where the guy was, and told the guy what I had said, and the guy said, go ahead, you take them. So it took a while. He brought them back from AE and pretty much kept them going for a while to get them ready to ship, because going to a place like the Aquatic Experience is pretty rough on fish. You know, they're not in their normal water. They're having to adjust. The lighting's all messed up. The people constantly looking at the tanks and moving around outside of them. It's just kind of a rough experience for most fish to go to a show like that, whether it be a judging or a setup tank for aquascaping or whatever. It's just hard on fish to do that. So he took them back home with him with all of his other fish. And then the weather was such that it probably wasn't going to be a good idea to ship them for several months. So he hung on to them. And then when he got ready to send them, I said, well, Lucas, we could come up there and get them. And he said, come on. So we got to go up there and visit, and you can see the video that I posted of that. I took a lot of video, but I didn't post it all because I really, Lucas is a family guy, and I really felt more the family thing than I did the fish keeper thing when I was there, and I really liked that. So I kind of wanted to transfer that in the video, so that's the video that I chose to use. So anybody got any questions? Yeah, Kevin, it was a joy. And I hope some of that comes through, how much fun my wife and I had when we were there. Lucas is a great guy. I would highly recommend anyone that's looking for fish, check out Lucas's fish sales and shrimp sales. A lot of the time they're hard to get because so many people are buying them, and Lucas doesn't want to sell any of them. Lucas wants to keep them all. So he's running a business though, and he has to sell some. So if you're lucky enough, you can get him to sell you some. But they were excellent, in excellent shape, with the best of care. Yeah, the 20-gallon high, Kevin, is the Skittles mix that I got from him. And the breeding that has gone on in that tank with just the whole mixture, I have not culled, I have not pulled, I have not done anything. I've just let them go. And they've been in there for, I guess, over a year now. And there's probably 200, 250 shrimp in that tank. And I'm getting, hey DPK Fish Aquariums, welcome to the stream. I'm getting some clear with stripes on their tail shrimp now, which I'm assuming is wild. And I've gotten quite a few browns. Yeah, these are the Aru 2s that we got from Lucas, DPK. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, Kevin says he let his shrimp live with some baby Corys, and after a month the Corys grew up and the shrimp disappeared. Yeah, we ordered jade shrimp from Rob at Luke Diesel, and gosh, they were $9 a piece, and beautiful shrimp. But we put them in that 75-gallon, and when I brought all those fish home from Jimmy's house, I had like 20 large rainbows, and the only place I had to put them was in that tank, so I dropped them in. And not long after that, we no longer had any jade shrimp in that tank. So keeping fish with shrimp is a risk. Now, I say that, but in the 13-gallon rimless, we've got all those endlers in that tank, but the middle of that tank is a solid mass of guppy grass, and I mean a solid mass. My wife has to go in there every day and pick more of it out to keep room for the endlers. And the shrimp are breeding like crazy in there. And we've got some really interesting colors coming out of that tank. Yeah, they ate $80 worth of jade shrimp. It was an expensive meal, but I'm sure they enjoyed it. And I don't even know that they killed them. They probably just pestered them to death, kept hitting at them every time they came out in the open. My wife's tank doesn't have a lot of deep cover in it. It's mostly wide open with lots of plants. There is some rock work, but it's not really enough for the shrimp to hide in. So, yeah, jade shrimp disappeared real fast. But in that 13-gallon rimless tank, yes, Kevin, it just floats open. And I don't remember which background it is, so I'm not going to put it up, but it's just a solid mass. It's just solid. I mean, the shrimp can go through it just fine, and the female endlers will dig them when they're ready to give birth. They'll dig their way in and find a little spot in that guppy grass where none of the males will pester them, and they'll drop all their fry, and then they'll fight their way back out. So both the endler fry and the baby shrimp are all living in that guppy grass. I mean, the larger shrimp will come out because the endlers aren't quite big enough to really go after shrimp. They'll eat the babies. They see a baby, they'll eat it in a heartbeat, but they don't really go after the adults and the sub-adults. But we are really getting some remarkable colors out of the breeding that's going on. I'm assuming that Jim got all of the shrimp that are in that tank from Lucas, but he had some really remarkable colors, some really interesting blues, some really interesting wine-colored shrimp, and he had several of Lucas's hitherto unknown cream orange orange sickle. I can't remember what he was going to call them. I think he ended up losing most of them. He put them in a new tank, and I think a lot of them died on him. But creamsicle, is that what he was calling? Creamsicle, yeah. They are white with a very dark orange patch on them, and then the orange kind of shades out over into onto the white. And it's pretty prevalent. Hey, Valley Fish, welcome to the stream. And so those lines have all gone together in that tank, however they've crossed, and we're getting some really interesting wineish colored. They're not cherries; they're wine colored, and and some oranges. We're getting some really strange oranges out of it. I think the blue, one of the blues, and that creamsicle crossed. And we're getting some really strange looking blues that have like orange in them. So I'm not sure whether we're going to end up with creamsicles again, but we're definitely going to get some interesting interesting types of shrimp that are coming out of it. I don't really have the tank space to do a lot of culling and picking which, shrimp that I'm going to keep. I've only got, I'm down to a 5-gallon quarantine now, and I've only got the 55 that I still need to reseal and clean that I was supposed to do last year, but getting Jimmy's fish pretty much knocked me out of doing any of the rest. Candy cane shrimp, yeah, well, that would be an interesting name. If they hold true and they keep breeding, then yeah, that's what I'll. So I've basically done what everyone says not to do, and I've let the shrimp just go and let them breed as they are wont to do. So I'm basically muddying all of Lucas's lines, but I think that that's the way that new shrimp varieties come about, is by people muddying other lines and then crossing them with something else, and then suddenly they're starting to get interesting variants. And Kevin says, I'm still waiting for the electrician to come by so I can start my new projects. Need more outlets. Yeah, I think that's the story of any fish keeper's life, is I need more outlets. We get larger and larger, larger and larger power strips to make up for the fact that we don't have enough outlets. And yeah, this is a 110-year-old house, so it has very few outlets in it, and that pretty much dictates where we can put fish tanks and where we can't put them. So I have a lot of power strips, a lot more than I should be using to run my tanks with, and I need an electrician too. Valley Fish says, just got back from my live fish store. Took in some guppies. It was so fun. They had zebra plecos. Awesome. Did you get some zebra plecos, Valley Fish? Welcome to the Pleco Addicts Anonymous Club. Zebras are really strikingly beautiful and gorgeous, but my heart went with L260s. I just really, when I saw that fish, I just really fell for it. That was something that I wanted to have. Awesome, Kevin. Sounds like they're just about big enough to breed. Because two or three is about where zebras start if their conditions are met. You get a lot of different types of ways to get zebras to breed. DPK Fish says, I watched a documentary how in Trinidad and Tobago, how guppies' colors change due to predation versus non-predation, and how different color substrates changes the variation in color patterns. Yeah, we point out these colors in fish, but fish have many layers of coloration in their skin, and they can put up a huge variety of colors depending on, one, their place in the local pecking order, how dominant or subdominant they are. Two, their condition, how healthy they are versus if they're unhealthy. Three, the water conditions around them will cause them to change how they appear in the water. You know, if it's green water, they'll look one way. Kevin says he hasn't tried them yet. I'm working on getting my L236s to breed. They are my favorite by far. Yeah, I think pleco loving is like that. We all have different variations that we fall in love with, and we end up keeping them. And Valley Fish says, no, my $40 credit didn't cover the $300 to $200 needed for one. Yep. When I was breeding Jack Dempsey's, that's when I was buying the most. I'd bring between 600 and 800 Jack Dempsey's in at about three quarters of an inch, and I was getting 25 cents a piece for them. But it was enough of them that I was bringing in where I had the money to buy. And my first L46 Zebra Pleco that I bought cost me $25. So I brought in six or 800 3/4 inch size Jack Dempsey's, and probably got some food and a Zebra Pleco. Hey, down the wormhole, welcome to the stream. We're just basically shooting the whatever here today. I'm once again bereft of any real topic to ramble on about. I enjoyed your last live stream that I was in, down the wormhole. You're doing a really good job of live streaming. And anybody that doesn't know Down the Wormhole should go check out her live streams. If you're lucky, she'll give you a glance of her huge piranha tank. I'm jealous of that tank. I'm jealous of those fish. But I just really, as I've gotten more into the hobby, I've stayed away from larger fish and kind of worked my way down to the smaller dither fish, what I used to always call dither fish in the 70s, because that's all they were to me. I knew sooner or later my Dempseys or my Jaguars or my Pacus or somebody was going to eat them, but I bought them as dither fish, you know, to let my large cichlids know that it was okay to come out, because that's what larger fish do. They watch the dither fish, how the smaller tetras and pencil fish and rainbows or what have you act, and then they know that it's safe for them to come out. So a lot of times if you have a Jack Dempsey that is hanging back that won't come out, you can sometimes help them out by throwing some dither fish in there. They're going to get eaten, so I wouldn't advise putting very expensive dither fish. Hey Charles, welcome to the stream. Charles says, it's been a while. I've usually been busy on Saturdays with school or fish club meetings. Glad to finally be able to catch one of your streams. Yeah, Charles, I've noticed that you've had several streams on when I was watching Pacers games, if you guys are ever doing a stream and you wonder where I am, why I'm not there, click up the NBA schedule and look for a Pacers game, and if there's one on, you know that's where I'm at. I'm watching the Pacers. I don't try to cross Pacer games with live streams. But Charles, I've caught several of bits and pieces of several of your live streams lately, and you've been doing some good work. And I'd highly recommend anybody check out Charles's work too. I'm pretty down the wormhole. I'm pretty unabashed about my Pacers fandom, so I'm not going to. Yep, the Pacers still play. They're actually fourth in the East this year, so they're looking to take over Cleveland's spot here if they get lucky. Charles says, I think there are some 4 to 5 inch South American mega tetras that it would be hard for Jack Dempsey's to eat. Uh, Charles, I'm here to tell you that a full grown Jack Dempsey will kill a 12-inch fish that's in the tank with it. So it doesn't really matter the size. Once a pair of Jack Dempsey's pairs off, anything else in the tank is going to be dead. Either that or it's going to be shoved up in a corner somewhere. So if you've got a 55-gallon with 8 baby Jack Dempsey or 8 sub-adult or near-adult Jack Dempseys in it, when 2 of them pair off, the other 6 will be plastered in a corner somewhere. They are some of the most pugnacious. You know, everybody tells you, oh, piranhas are bad, or oh, pacus are bad, or red terrors are bad, or I've had a 6-inch Jack Dempsey skin a 9-inch red terror. I mean, left no scales on its body. So, if you want a tough fish, if you want a fish that won't take any, I mean, if you put it in the tank with a wolffish, of course, a full-grown wolffish is going to eat a Jack Dempsey. But an Oscar or a jaguar or any of the larger, until the fish gets to be like 17 or 18 or 20 inches long, then of course it's going to stomp a Jack Dempsey. But Jack Dempseys know no limits to their ability to terrorize other fish. So if the Jack Dempsey couldn't swallow it whole, it would kill it, break it up, and eat the little pieces. I highly recommend Jack Dempsey's to anyone that's interested in getting into larger South American and Central American cichlids. They are a remarkable beast. They have more personality than any of the fish that I have ever kept. I mean, jaguars come close, but jaguars are so mean in their nature that they don't really come across with the personality. They don't show you that personality. I mean, I would put a Jack Dempsey right behind a flower horn as far as interactive behavior with the owner. They are just remarkable and highly intelligent. And because flower horns are so interactive, I wonder often if Jack Dempsey isn't one of the hybrids that's in a flower horn. DPK Fish Aquariums says, I've never kept firemouth. What's your thoughts on them, Dwayne? I have kept them a lot. They are a substrate sifter. They don't really look like it. And if you put them in a tank full of gravel, they won't do it, of course. But you put a firemouth Mickey in a tank full of sand, and you will never have to siphon through that sand again, because those firemouths will dig it up, and they are. Uh, I can't even remember the order of the fish that they are. Oh, that's awesome, Charles. Charles says he got a couple of firemouths. Firemouths are not really aggressive. They are kind of aggressive, but you don't need to worry about any fish with sevrums other than one that is large enough to swallow a sevrum. If you've got baby sevrums and a large cichlid, then yeah, you need to worry. But sevrums are right there with Jack Dempsey's as how aggressive a fish they are when they are cornered or when they are under some sort of stress. Dempsey's are like that all the time, but just go ballistic when they're breeding. I don't know a fish that destroys a tank more when they are in breeding than a Dempsey. They will just tear a tank up. Firemouths are not like that at all. Firemouths don't get that big, and they just really are not. You know, they will be aggressive in a group with each other. Hey, Sergeant Tanks, welcome to the stream, Jeremy. Jeremy could tell you more about sevrums than I can. I've kept them, but Jeremy loves them, so he's kept them a lot more than I have. Yeah, geophagus, that's what I was looking for. Really? A pair of firemouths that was too mean for Tapajos, red-headed Tapajos, geophagus. That's interesting. I wonder if you just don't have two really aggressive, you know, every kind of fish is, every kind of fish has different personalities in it. Yep, Charles, as soon as someone mentions sevrums, Jeremy pops right up. So Jeremy, what do you think about keeping firemouth Mickeys with sevrums? You think sevrums are going to suffer? My bet would be on the sevrums 90% of the time, but maybe maybe this set of firemouths is really aggressive. You know, it's just, yeah, it's breeding always changes the dynamic. I've usually seen Mickeys be much meaner to each other than they were to any fish in the tank. When firemouths are setting a pecking order, they can be really nasty to each other, i.e. kill each other sometimes. Not usually, but sometimes they can. So, I don't know. You know, maybe you just got a really mean pair. But my bet would be on the sevrums all the time. Sevrums don't look mean and aggressive. They don't show off as mean and aggressive. But if you really watch the behavior between fish in the tank and sevrums, most of the fish in the tank that aren't just pure badasses will stay away from sevrums because they know that if they piss them off, they're going to really be a fight. You know, sevrums are, it's like they got all the meanness from angelfish and all the boisterousness from Dempsey's, and they're just, you know, sevrums don't act that way. They don't go around the tank usually trying to kick everybody's butt, but they really do. Oh, you put them in with Africans, Jeremy? Oh, man. Yeah, that's going to be a huge cluster, whatever, because Africans speak an entirely different language, and so the Mickeys are just going to get hit. Charles says that he definitely wants to keep some other Therichtes, like Passions, Aros, Maculopinus. They're so beautiful and just like South American Satanoperchias. Yes, I definitely think that they are very much in that same, you know, when you look at the history of how fish have migrated around the world down through the ages, how continental breakup and shifts have caused certain fish to go one way and other fish to go other ways, and that the evolution of those species has changed so much depending on where they were and what they were around. If you look at the Central American cichlids and then the South American cichlids in those groups, it's very obvious that there are some close similarities. I know that Jack Dempsey's have been discovered in Belize. It was Rusty Wessel that found them in Belize. So they have obviously hopped along the coastline, you know, in and out of salt water, like dropping into river mouths and stuff, and worked their way around the coast. So probably one of the things that was as eventful in the evolution of Central and South American cichlids. Hey, Corona, I'm glad you're out enjoying the weather. Charles says he got some Corridors Eversi in yesterday. Super happy. They've always been a species I wanted to keep. They really are a nice species. What, Rufus? You think you want to go outside? Hang on, I got to put Rufus out. I'll be right back. Come on. Okay, we're coming up on top of the hour here. My wife and I are going to go get some Red Lobster Fest for our Easter meal. We just want to have a date with ourselves instead of all the kids and all the family and stuff. And DPK says, now the black belt cichlids not aggressive like they say. My Severums keep them in check. It's funny, yeah. Black belts aren't going to stand a chance against them. Charles is saying, remembers reading somewhere that Therichtus and South American earth eaters developed their unique habits and physical features through convergent evolution. Okay, well, convergent evolution means that it's two different species that evolve towards each other. And that's that's like they're taking a certain food niche and through evolutionary changes, they are more adept at eating certain kinds of food than other fish are. But what I was talking about and didn't really finish before Rufus interrupted me was down the wormhole says, "Oh, I wish there was a red lobster here." Yeah. Somebody in one of my games was talking about crab legs, and that got me thinking I'd like to go get some lobster. One of the events that I think shaped a lot of what has gone on in the cichlid evolutionary changes in the South American and Central American area is that comet that struck, the meteor that struck, is it 36 million years ago or something like that, and pretty much smashed right into the northern part of South America, just off the coast of the northern South America. And I think that that event probably changed a great deal of the location of a lot of different species of fish because of the massive floods that it caused and the massive movement of Earth. And I think that somewhere in that time period, that species that weren't in one place ended up in another place and moved around quite a bit, and I really feel like that it's either South American to Central American or Central American to South American, and probably both, that ended up creating so many of the varieties of fish that we see in South America. And, there's a lot of varieties of fish in Central America, too. That is a subject that is fascinating to me. Charles says, well, DPK, I hope the firemouths don't breed too much, because that'd be a pain getting rid of the fry. DPK says, I have 5 more tanks not set up. And that would bring him up to 12 tanks. And yeah, if you get a pair of firemouth Mickeys to start breeding regularly, and there's nothing else in the tank to eat all the fry, you will have a huge amount of fry to sell or to give away. But I've never really found firemouth Mickeys to be hard to get rid of. The few times that I've had them breed for me and carried off, either other people wanted them or stores were happy to buy them, because that's one of their bread and butter fish that a lot of live fish stores sell, is firemouth Mickeys. And okay, we're right at the top of the hour. I'm going to take my wife out to dinner here now, and I hope each and every one of you has an excellent Easter in whichever way that you choose to celebrate it. I hope it is a happy time for you and your families. And we'll end it there, and thank you guys for coming out and spending some of your valuable time with me here on Saturday. I know Saturday's a good day to do a lot of things. Down the wormhole, you have a wonderful evening too. DPK, thanks so much. And I hope all of you have a happy rest of the holiday weekend. Thanks for stopping by, Charles. I'll try to catch a day when there's not a Pacers game on. There's only like 7 games left in the season. Then we get a 2-week break before the playoffs start. But the Pacers are solidly in the playoffs this year. So hopefully, knock on wood, they go more than 2 rounds deep this year. Anyway, you guys have a good weekend. Thank you for stopping by.